Do you believe you know the person you'll share your life with? Think about it. I'm not talking about the smile that calms you, nor the promises made between kisses. I'm talking about the moment love crosses the threshold and becomes a relationship. That's when everything changes, and what seemed like a dream can slowly become an uncomfortable mirror, one that reflects not only who they are, but who you truly become with them. Every man should think twice before crossing that line, not out of fear of love, but out of respect for what it demands. Because living together isn't just about sharing space. It's about allowing the routine to reveal parts of you that perhaps you yourself weren't aware of. And when that happens, something silent begins to move between the couple. Power. At first, everything seems natural. Two bodies fitting together, two worlds trying to coexist. But gradually, admiration gives way to observation, and observation turns to judgment. The same gaze that once sought charm now seeks flaws. And the man who was strength, mystery, and direction becomes the man who forgets the wet towel, the one who is slow to respond, the one who hesitates. This is how respect begins to erode, not with shouts, but with small, accumulated silences. Have you ever felt this? The subtle shift in tone in conversations, the distance that grows even when you're close? This is where many men go astray, trying to keep the peace at any cost, confusing harmony with submission. They stop leading, not out of disinterest, but out of fear of losing what little balance they have left. And without realizing it, they become visitors in their own home, careful with every word, treading lightly, avoiding conflict. But there's something deeper to this. Coexistence doesn't destroy desire by chance. It challenges it. It tests your core, your steadfastness, your clarity about who you are. And if you don't know how to sustain your presence, you'll be swallowed up by routine, by expectation, by the slow erosion of your identity. Still, all is not lost. Understanding what truly happens between a man and a woman when love becomes every day is the first step to not letting it fade away. There is a way to maintain respect, magnetism, and balance, but it takes courage. And that courage begins now in this very moment, when you decide to look at the truth without running away from it. Because what follows is not a story of idealized love. It's a stark portrait of what happens when two worlds try to live under the same roof. The question is, are you prepared to see what really changes when she starts sharing not only your bed, but your silence with you? This is where everything begins to change, silently, without you even realizing it. Living with a woman doesn't just change the rhythm of your days, it changes the rhythm within you. Little by little, without clear intention, you begin to adjust who you are to maintain harmony. You avoid certain words, postpone conversations, swallow opinions, all in the name of peace. It seems sensible, it seems like love, but there's a fine line between adaptation and surrender. And it's precisely when you believe you're protecting the relationship that you begin to lose it. At first, they're harmless details. She suggests the movie, you agree. She changes her tone, you give in. A dinner you wanted, a date you postpone. You call it maturity, empathy. But what begins as understanding ends as concession. And when a man gets used to always giving in, he ceases to be the man she admired. That energy that once sparked curiosity and desire becomes predictable, tame, domesticated. Think about how many times you've kept quiet to avoid conflict, how many times you've chosen silence, believing you were being sensible, when in reality you were fading away. Coexistence has this power. It makes everything seem fine, even when something essential begins to die. It's an almost imperceptible process, made up of small gestures that seem like love but hide fear. The fear of loss, the fear of displeasing. But here's the truth that almost no one tells. A woman doesn't respect a man who does everything to please her. She respects a man who can contradict her without losing his center. Because respect is born of character, not obedience. And character is revealed precisely when it is challenged. A woman may love a gentleman, but only admires one who stands firm when the wind changes. When a man becomes predictable, mystery dies. And without mystery, there is no magnetism. She may still love you, but that love loses its pulse, loses its spark. You cease to be the man who stirred emotion and become the man who ensures stability. And stability without tension is like a fire without air. It slowly dies out. Coexistence, when misunderstood, becomes a minefield of good intentions. You believe you're doing the right thing, but what you're actually doing is diluting yourself. Her gaze changes, The tone of conversations changes, even her touch changes. There's no fight, no rupture, just a growing distance, invisible but real. It's the kind of distance that isn't measured in steps but in vibration. And then comes the point of no return, the moment when she stops admiring you. Maybe she still loves you, maybe she still desires you in part, but admiration, that vital energy that sustains respect and desire, is gone. And without admiration, love becomes obligation. So it's not about flowers, apologies, or romantic gestures. It's about steadfastness, about maintaining your purpose even when it's uncomfortable, because coexistence isn't the end of the mystery, it's the test of your essence. And if you don't know how to sustain it, what was love becomes routine, and what was you dissolves into the concessions that seemed like affection. But there's something deeper, something few realize. Coexistence doesn't just challenge you in your relationship, it challenges you in your soul. It requires you to learn to balance love and strength, tenderness and direction. Because if you lose your bearings, you lose respect. And when respect disappears, nothing, absolutely nothing ever returns to the way it was before. If you don't have space for yourself, if there are no moments where you can disappear from the noise to rebuild yourself, you'll begin to feel drained. The energy that once powered your days fades into subtle concessions, into small gestures that distance you from your own center. And when a man loses his center, he loses his fire. Fire isn't anger, nor pride, it's presence. It's the quiet glow of someone who knows what they want and where they came from. And when that glow fades, something invisible shifts in the air. She feels it, even if she doesn't say it. She feels that the man who once inspired her now merely accompanies her. Have you ever wondered how many times you stopped being yourself to be what you thought she wanted? This is the most common mistake, and the most disguised. Many men believe that love can replace purpose, that it's enough to just be there, constant, attentive, present. But love alone sustains nothing without direction. A man who lives solely for the relationship loses his bearings, and when that happens, the field of attraction inverts. The axis shifts. She no longer orbits your world. You begin to orbit hers. And as contradictory as it may seem, this doesn't strengthen the bond, it empties it. Because what attracted her wasn't your dedication, it was your independence. What made her admire you wasn't your docility, it was your clarity. And then comes the question few have the courage to face. What happens when love suffocates purpose? The answer is stark. Dependence is born, and with it disenchantment. Desire is not fueled by fulfillment, but by contrast, by seeing the other as a partially revealed mystery. When she knows your every step, every reaction, every gesture, curiosity dies. And when curiosity dies, enchantment fades. A predictable man doesn't inspire admiration, he provokes boredom. Therefore, coexistence should not be a fusion, but an alliance. Two forces that walk side by side without trying to cancel each other out. When you fragment yourself to fit into a mold that isn't yours, you cease to be a presence and become a shadow. And shadow doesn't inspire, it only accompanies. Doesn't want you to disappear in the name of love. It wants to feel that, even by your side, there's still a universe that belongs to you. A man without mystery is a man without territory. But the territory she respects isn't one of imposition, it's one of consistency. Being firm isn't being rigid, it's being whole. And when you're whole, she notices. She notices it in the tone of your voice, the rhythm of your breathing, the way you remain calm in the face of chaos. This is the energy she calls, often without words, security. And security isn't control, it's stability. Have you ever thought about that? What attracts a woman isn't the man who tries to dominate her, but the man who dominates himself. Every time you give up an essential part of who you are to avoid discomfort, you lose a fragment of your identity. And the curious thing is that she feels this loss as much as you do. Because when you stop being the man she admired, she also stops being the woman she was by your side. It's a mutual, silent decline that begins with renunciation and ends in indifference. The turning point, however, is closer than it seems. It's not about moving away from it, but about finding yourself again in the midst of it. True masculine strength lies not in distance, but in the ability to remain authentic within proximity, in keeping the fire burning even under the same roof. So I ask, when was the last time you did something just for yourself? Not to please, not to prove yourself, just to exist. Because it is in this act, simple, intimate, and solitary, that man once again radiates what makes him magnetic. Respect isn't born of effort, it's born of coherence. And coherence isn't learned, it's practiced. When you become your own person again, the world around you reorganizes itself. It feels, adjusts, and draws closer. And what seemed like the end of passion becomes the beginning of a new kind of bond, one in which love doesn't extinguish the fire, but fuels it. She's magnetic. In a world where everything fluctuates, a woman seeks a fixed point, and if you're not that point, she'll look elsewhere. That's why cohabitation is the greatest test a man can face. It can be the stage for his evolution or the silent theater of his defeat. It all depends on the awareness with which you enter this territory. If you arrive without purpose, you'll be swallowed up by routine. If you enter with clarity, you'll build something few achieve, respect and desire that stand the test of time. But there's a deeper, almost invisible aspect that most ignore. Because living under the constant gaze of another person comes at a price. A psychological price that is gradually exacted, with emotional toll. When you start living with a woman, you begin to live on a kind of invisible stage. Every gesture, every pause, every glance is observed. Not out of malice, but instinctively. She captures patterns, interprets nuances, notices the silences. And without realizing it, you begin to observe yourself too, not to understand yourself, but to adjust. This is how the actor within a man is born. At first, it seems prudent. You measure your words, control your tone, anticipate reactions. You want to avoid friction, you want to preserve harmony. But the more you try not to make mistakes, the less authentic you become. The danger lies in the intention. When you live to avoid mistakes, you abandon authenticity. And once that happens, the magnetism begins to die. Because respect doesn't come from perfection, it comes from reality. A woman can forgive a flaw, but she can't stand falsehood. Have you ever noticed this? That subtle shift in her gaze when she realizes you're acting. When your words seem too certain, too calculated, too confident, that's when the bond begins to fade. She misses the man who reacted truthfully, not the one who responded strategically. Coexistence, when not conscious, turns a man into a character, a polished, predictable, domesticated version of himself. And the curious thing is that the more you try to please, the less admiration she feels. A man who seeks approval doesn't command respect, he commands pity. He who seeks calm at any cost loses his fire. He who avoids discomfort loses his direction. And he who confuses affection with admiration will never understand why her desire has vanished. Think about it. How many times have you failed to be authentic for fear of disappointing? How many times have you sacrificed your truth to preserve a peace that wasn't even yours? The man who grows in coexistence understands something others don't. Presence isn't complacency. He doesn't need to shout to be heard, nor harden to be strong. His calm is dominance, not fear. His silence is a boundary, not an escape. He doesn't demand respect, he radiates it. And this energy is perceptible, almost physical. It's the quiet strength that makes everything around him align, even without saying anything. But we live in times when man has been trained to soften every trace of his strength. They tell him, be sensitive, be empathetic, be understanding. All of this is necessary, yes, but without an axis, it becomes weakness. A man without an emotional center becomes too malleable, too dissolved, incapable of supporting the weight of a true relationship. Empathy without structure is like water without a container. It escapes everywhere. And here lies the ultimate paradox. The more you try to be her ideal man, the further you move away from the man who truly attracts her. Because what sustains desire isn't perfection, it's authenticity. And authenticity only emerges when you have the courage to be whole, even if it causes discomfort. Coexistence isn't the end of freedom, it's its mirror. And only those who can see themselves without masks in this mirror discover the true power of permanence. Sensitivity without structure is exposed vulnerability. And when coexistence demands firmness, but you offer only understanding, something breaks almost imperceptibly. She may not say anything, but she will feel it. She will feel the weight of needing to be the foundation, the compass, the emotional fortress of the home. And when a woman is forced to assume this role, desire changes form. It doesn't suddenly disappear, it simply recedes, hiding behind a kind of silent weariness. It's the moment when she still loves you, but no longer admires you. The real challenge isn't living with her. It's living with yourself within this coexistence. Keeping your own world pulsating within the world you share. Having your rituals, your spaces, your silences. If you give these up, you dissolve. And when you dissolve, she stops seeing you, not as punishment, but as a natural reaction. No one respects what is surrendered without resistance. Love needs boundaries to survive, because without them, it becomes fusion, and fusion extinguishes the flame that created it. But there's one point that almost no one touches on: the energy of leadership within the home. I'm not talking about commanding, I'm talking about leading. Being the axis that sets the tone of the space, the rhythm of the environment. If you don't do it, someone else will. And when she has to take that position because you don't, the relationship shifts. It stops being a dance and becomes an imbalance. And feminine desire doesn't blossom in control, it blossoms in admiration. Have you ever noticed how her gaze changes when you make a decision with conviction, without asking permission? When you speak less and act more, it's at that moment that the energy returns, because she feels she can trust. A man who leads doesn't dominate, he directs. His calm establishes order. His consistency inspires security. He doesn't impose respect, he provokes it. And the respect born of consistency is what keeps the flame alive even on days when love seems to be hidden. But if you're the man who reacts to her every mood swing, who adjusts your plans to the whim of the moment, then you don't lead, you survive. And a man who merely survives within his own home ceases to belong there. He begins to walk on what remains, not what he built. This is what silently destroys the masculine essence, the loss of inner direction. So remember, living with a woman isn't about merging with her, it's about coexisting firmly. Your energy can't depend on the day's emotional climate. Your purpose can't depend on approval. Your peace can't depend on being understood. If all of this becomes dependent on her, you cease to be a whole man and become a reflection of what she projects. And here lies the final twist, the truth that liberates even when it hurts. A woman doesn't need a perfect man. She needs a man who is present, purposeful, and has boundaries. A man who knows how to say no when necessary, not out of rebellion, but out of integrity. Because a true no doesn't destroy, it defines. And it is in this limit that respect is reborn, that desire returns, that love matures. In the end, what she wants most is not the man who follows her, but the man who stands tall, even when the whole world invites him to bow down. The real question isn't whether you want to live with a woman. The question is, are you ready to live with yourself within this coexistence? Because that's where everything is defined. When the doors close and the day ends, there are no masks or roles, just you, your decisions, your silences, and the reflection of who you truly are. Coexistence doesn't destroy a man, it reveals him. It shows who has a center and who still seeks it. It shows who leads their own mind and who is swept away by the emotional tides of the environment. And in this daily mirror, there's no deception. Every gesture, every response, every pause becomes a choice between growing or fading. And it is in this invisible space between what you feel and what you do that true masculine strength is born. Not the strength that shouts, but the one that sustains. Not the one that imposes, but the one that guides. Living with a woman is like walking within a field of mirrors. Everything you are and everything you pretend to be will be reflected back to you. And if you don't have the courage to see yourself whole, you will end up fragmenting until you no longer know where you begin and where you end. But if you know who you are, if you keep your purpose alive, coexistence ceases to be a burden and becomes a shared purpose. It's at that point that she stops measuring you and starts following you. Not because you bow, but because you trust. Because you feel you're before a man who doesn't lose his way, even when love tests him. A man who doesn't seek approval, but balance. A man whose firmness isn't coldness, it's peace. And here's the secret few understand. Coexistence isn't about adapting to the other. It's about resisting without breaking. It's about remaining whole, even when everything around you tries to mold you. Learning to be present without being annulled, to care for the other without forgetting yourself. This is the silent art that differentiates the man who matures from the man who fades. And there is no victory more powerful than remaining authentic within one's own home. Before sharing a roof, learn to inhabit your own soul. Know how to be alone without feeling empty. Know how to say no without guilt. Know how to protect your energy as you protect your own life, because that's what it's all about. Life. And life demands presence, not surrender. Love without identity becomes dependence. Peace without purpose becomes anesthesia. And you weren't born to live numb. You were born to burn. Never trade respect for affection, direction for comfort, or fire for stability. Stability is important, but without direction, it becomes stagnation. Coexistence doesn't kill a person. It only shatters them if they don't know who they are. But for those who remain conscious, it becomes the field where their soul matures, where love gains depth and respect becomes the foundation of everything. So, if this message touched something in you, something that might have been dormant, something you recognized between the lines, don't let it go unnoticed. Write in the comments, even anonymously, what this reflection awakened in you. Like the video, share it with anyone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel. Because this is just the beginning of a conversation that goes far beyond coexistence. It's about reclaiming the man that time, routine, and fear have tried to silence.